Okay, so welcome to our Ambition Academy call. It is May 15th. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like flabbergasted that we are almost halfway through the year. It just seems to go so fast. But I'm excited to chat with you guys tonight. If you don't know who I am Dana Fodiatis. I'm the founder of Team Empowered Elite. I have been a coach for a little over 4 years now. And I'm super excited to talk to you guys tonight about just mainly the most important basics and business behaviors and different ways that you can kind of simply track things to make sure that you're moving your business forward every day. So I'm just curious if you can raise hands, has anybody gone into the files of this training page and printed out the trackers yet? Whether you're printing out we had the Badass Basics Challenge in there, the Badass Tracker. It used to be called the BAT, but since we've shifted not just from Facebook into also Instagram that I kind of created, it looks like this. Has anybody seen this? Yes. Okay. I'm going to cover that tonight and what's on it and kind of break those things down for you. Now, I'm curious, has anybody started doing their business activities yet, like power hours or your basics? I don't know how many people are.
I looked into it. I just haven't started like printing out and like tracking it.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I'm going to go over and kind of break down what each thing on there is so that you might look at it and be like, what does that even mean? So we're going to kind of break those down tonight. And I just have hey, Rebecca, I'm going to mute you. I just have some simple ideas of things that you can do, like starting from the get-go to learn how to just kind of track your business so it's easy for you to keep up with. And more importantly, because what you track is something that you can measure. So if you're not tracking and measuring what you're doing every day, you don't really know how to improve, if that makes sense, right? I can tell you when I was a brand new coach, all of this was extremely overwhelming to me. I had never been an organized person. I had never set goals before. I had never kind of really followed to-do lists or things like that. So if you're like I was, it's okay. You will learn, I promise. But the more that you really just dive into not just this, but really everything that you're learning in this training and kind of apply it as you go, the better off you're going to be in the long run. Because you don't want to just be a collector of information and just kind of sitting there waiting till you have it all figured out. The best way to learn in this business is in action and in the doing and in kind of what we say, failing forward. But the more action you take, the faster you're going to learn anything that it is that you're doing. So we are going to start with, like I said, this is in the files of the training, this tracker here. Now, there are numerous different ones. I think that sometime during the training, if we haven't posted them already, there's going to be a general business activity tracker for Facebook and also just an Instagram tracker if you're working on one or the other, or if you're working on both. I would highly suggest kind of getting familiar with both and then predominantly focusing more on one. I can say that I personally built my entire business on Facebook, and I am just now in the last 6 months or so really kind of diving into learn Instagram. Some coaches have done the opposite, but find the platform that you really like working on, that you're excited to work on, that you're excited to share on, that's working for you, because doing the basics on that platform is important. So basics, breaking down the actual basics. I'm just curious, when Kathy talked to you guys last week, did she talk about your commitment to your personal journey and kind of coming out as a coach on social media, that kind of stuff? She did? Yes? Okay. Has everybody made their coming out as a coach post? I have some scared faces. Okay. I'm really not in the mood for tough love today, so I'm not going to do that to you. But I just want to say, I can tell you that as a new coach, it can be extremely intimidating, yes, to share on social media. But here's the thing, is that basically your social media platforms are like your business storefront. And you would never, go through the process of like building a restaurant, setting up a restaurant, getting all the food, getting all the plating, like hiring all the employees, and then you keep your doors closed, right? So until you put yourself out there on social media and share that you are a coach, people have no clue what you're doing. They don't have any, opportunity to join you. They don't know that you're running challenge groups or that you have a team that they could join so they could coach too. Really, they only know from what you share, and it's important to put yourself out there. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but if you have a transformation, that's a great thing to start with because it shows the possibility already, right? And if you don't have a transformation yet, that's fine too. You can just write a little bit about why you're so excited to dive into coaching and what that means for you. And curiosity marketing is really important and just really fabulous way to, you don't have to name drop with, like, you don't have to say Shakeology, you don't have to say Beachbody, you don't have to say any of that kind of stuff. You just need to say that you're on a health and wellness journey, that you're committed because you have specific goals, you're super excited about it, here's why, and that you're excited to help and inspire and encourage other women along their journeys as well, right? So just make it authentic to you, I guess, is what I would say to kind of take some of that fear away. Don't feel like you need to make the perfect post or the perfect picture from day one. It's actually funny. There's an album, I think, still on my Facebook page from when I was new. And if you went and looked at that, you would probably be mortified because it's like me holding a T25 CD. Like, it's awful, just so awful. So it's a learning curve, but the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And it's just important that you make it known that this is something you're doing, because otherwise people don't know they can join you, right? And then it's a little bit easier after you make that coming out post to start sharing your journey from there on forward, given that you are committed to it. So I just really want to stress that again, because I hear a lot of new coaches say, like, I don't know what to post about. I don't know what to share. I don't know what to say. I don't know who to speak to today. And the thing is that I personally have found that the times that I struggle the most with coming up on, like, with something on social media, like, you may have personal things going on in your life too. I understand that. But if you truly are committed to your journey, like if you are drinking your shake, if you are making your best effort with nutrition, if you are doing a fitness program, if you are connected into your challenge group and you are engaged in that, if you're engaged in your team page, if you're doing your personal development, you'll feel pretty inspired and you have a billion different things to share about, right? I find that when we struggle the most to share things is when we're not actually doing it and living it. Because if you're living it, then you're just sharing what you're up to, right? And it takes that pressure away of having to come up with these crazy posts. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So moving on. So on the top of this tracker, you're going to see we put on there your commitments to you. So your workout, your shake, your nutrition, your meal prep. How many of you are doing To Be Mindset? I'm curious. Anybody? One, few. Some are still not on. Okay. So it's your workout, your shake, your nutrition, your personal development. So who is reading the books that we suggested for this training? Okay. Who in here thinks PD is kind of crazy and woo-woo? I did when I was a new coach. I was like, they want me to read books? Like, is this a joke? But guys, I read one of the first books I ever read was The Go-Giver, which down the road I would highly suggest that as well. But once I read from like start to finish my first PD book, I was like obsessed. I was hooked. I was like, it helps me think differently. It changes my mindset. You will never outgrow the amount of personal growth you do in this business. And I don't know if that really makes sense to you right now. It probably wouldn't have to me as a newer coach. But we all kind of come into this and we have like fear of judgment. We have fear of failure. We have, past failures we've had. We have struggles. We have, beliefs, limiting beliefs we have about ourselves. We have things that we're not very confident with. We have skills we haven't developed yet. And personal development is that one thing that you can always fall back onto to keep your mindset strong, to keep yourself motivated, to, really condition your brain to start thinking differently, to help you work through those limiting beliefs, to help you grow your confidence. So pouring into yourself every day is so, so important. That is why it is on there. If you don't have a ton of time to read books, I would highly suggest getting Audible. You can listen to audiobooks, or podcasts are fantastic. My favorite podcast right now is the Life Coach School podcast. Literally every single episode is fantastic. But make sure you're doing at least 10 minutes of personal development a day. So important. The next thing on here is friend requests, Facebook friend requests. So like I said, since we've kind of transitioned in the last 6 months or so into working Instagram more, this specific tracker has a little bit of both of Facebook and of Instagram on there, just because personally I bounce back and forth. So I want to make sure that I'm getting all of those in. Facebook friend requests. Have you guys started friend requesting people yet? No. Okay. Some of you have. I'm going to look at the comments real fast. Monique, it's actually, so Monique said that she's struggling with the negativity of social media, and just wants to be in the moment and present. That it's a hard transition to realize that this is for business. And it's really funny because someone said this to me earlier this week. And I can tell you that I totally understand that. It is sad that the majority of people, I shouldn't say the majority, but a lot of people on social media are negative and don't use it as a platform to really see that what they share impacts other people, right? But we have the opportunity to do that differently. And as you stick around with coaching, you're going to have so many coaches in your news feed that literally 98% of my news feed now is positive. It's inspiring. It's fitness. It's mindset. It's nutrition. It's people that want to better their lives. It's people that are, working to overcome things. So this might sound kind of rude, but if you have people on your social media that you find to be negative all the time, unfollow them or delete them if you're not friends with them, because the mindset that you are surrounded by definitely influences you. And for you to be able to stay positive and motivated, it's important. That's why we have, team support, coach support, training support, all of these things where you're having positive, uplifting, supportive people, because that is really important. And you are influenced by what you are surrounded by. So I personally have unfollowed quite a few people over the course of time, not in a way that I dislike people, but just that I don't really want to hear what they have to say. And that's okay, because that's your decision, right? It's your experience that you're creating. And also with social media, you have the ability to impact a billion different people right at the touch of your fingertips with social media. How cool is that? I literally have built an entire business, Kathy and I both, and Laura now as well. The coach you'll hear from next week on the call, all have built full-time businesses on social media. So it is an incredible tool to be able to connect with people no matter where they are, which I just think is fantastic. Because if you live in a small place or you don't have, a huge community of friends, you have the ability to reach anyone. And you can do this differently. And that's the last thing that I want to say, is that you can be that person that is the light in someone else's newsfeed. The one where somebody scrolls through and says, I can't wait to see her post today because she's positive and she's inspiring and she has something to say and she's always trying to do her best and she's working to overcome things in her life and she never quits. And do you know how many people need that? Because if you feel like social media is negative, guaranteed the majority of other people that are on it as well do. And it's refreshing to see someone that's standing out from that, is it not? So that's my 2 cents on that. Okay, so connecting with new people on Facebook. We'll start with that on Instagram as well if you're working there. But on Facebook, the reason why new friends are so important is because you kind of, when you start as a coach, we call it your warm market, where I'm sorry that my lighting is so awful. Where it's basically people you know, people you're familiar with. Maybe it's like friends from high school, friends from college, family members, all of that kind of stuff, right? They're people that kind of already know you or have a feel for who you are. So the important thing is that as you go along and as you're sharing your journey and as you're really starting to like have transformations and, you know, successful things to share, that you need new eyes on what you are doing to be able to connect with and impact and help new people, right? So that means that you need to make sure that you are adding new people to your network all the time to have the ability to connect with them. Now, I wouldn't suggest friend requesting being a free-for-all of just like, I'll be friends with anybody and their mom. I would say quality over quantity is really important, and that if you can kind of figure out a way to connect with people that are in your niche per se. So like if you're a stay-at-home mom, or if you're a working mom or a corporate mom, or you're a nurse, or you're a teacher, finding communities, like finding Facebook groups that are, you know, kind of talking about a specific topic or maybe a certain health condition or something that you're interested in, whether it's like a sports team or a hobby you have. But getting in specific like pages are a great way to connect and meet new people. I have built pretty much my entire network from single mom and mom groups over the years. But also another way to meet new friends when you're new is the people you may know tool. It will suggest people for you that you may know. And also just friends of friends. So you may have a mom friend from your kid's school or something like that. And you can go check out who their friends are and see if there's anyone that you may feel like you might connect with. But to sum that all up, quality is key, because you want to make sure that these are people that you're going to be able to connect with, right? And it is so much easier to connect with people when you already have something in common. So does anybody have questions about that, about friend requests? Rebecca said she's not able to have a public social media profile because of her profession. Rebecca, I'm going to send you a message with the name of a coach on my team who is also a therapist and has been a coach for a few years now. You may be able to ask her a little bit more about that. But I personally, still to this day, don't have my Facebook public. I choose which posts are public. That was for different reasoning with me being a single mother. But it's not that big of a deal if your Facebook is private, as long as you are making the posts that you're sharing about your journey or about coaching or things like that. You can click on the post after you post it and alter the setting to make it a public post. So I don't know if that helps. Yeah, I'm going, Monique.
I just wanted to add, I do struggle a lot because I myself is a newly employed social worker. So I do struggle with, when I previously did my internship, I did have previous clients find me and try to add me, and I'm like, no, like, no, but like this new coaching thing. So I'm like, okay. So I had talked to Kelly, she's my coach, and I had said, I need to make a separate Instagram.
Yep.
I need to make a separate Facebook. But at the same time, like, you got to think, like, your name is still the same. So, like, you still kind of, like, struggle on the things that, and then they're like, oh, well, like, oh, you're a coach. And then you, like, have this, like, how do you sit there and, like, I can't coach you, you're my client. So it's like, oh my God. So I guess, like, I'm so new to coaching that I'm like, my career comes first. It's my priority, but coaching is like so fun, like on the side. And I love helping people. I mean, I'm a social worker, but it's like, how do you separate? Like, how do you tell your clients, like,
you should ask Stephanie Buthorn on our team. She is a school psychologist. So she'd be able to kind of give you some better input probably than I can about that specifically. But I do also have another coach who has a different name on social media. So her first name is the same, but her last name is not, which was super confusing at first because I was like, wait, what is your actual name? But it doesn't affect her business. And it does give you a little bit more of that privacy that you're looking for. So that would be something to think about. But Stephanie, I'm going to write that down to tag you in the team page, both of you and Rebecca, about it with Stephanie, because that's what she does, and she can probably give you some insight about how she's dealt with it, because she's been doing this for about 3 years. So we'll do that. And okay, so the next thing on this checklist is comment, liking, and engaging on 5 new or 5 old people's posts with like a "Hey girl, thanks for the support on my journey." Now I can tell you one of the biggest struggles I find that newer coaches and, kind of seasoned coaches alike are always have trouble with the transitioning of a conversation from like saying hello and connecting to it going somewhere else for a conversation where maybe you're bringing up that you're a fitness coach, or that you run a challenge group, or that you have an opportunity that you're super excited about, right? Because it can we don't want to be cold messaging people, and it can feel really awkward if you're just like, "Hey, how are you? How's your kids?" And then the conversation goes silent, right? And you don't really know how to talk to someone about what you're doing. So this is a really important step that makes that pretty simple. And I actually have some more scripts that I can add to the page for this specifically that work really well for me. But so when you're sharing on social media and when you're doing this consistently, you're obviously having people that like and comment and engage on your social media posts, right? So a great thing to do is when you sit down to do your power hour the next day, that you go to your page, you click on that post, and you see who liked it. And then you can go shoot them a message and say, "Hey girl, thanks for the support on my journey." If it was something that you shared that might have been personal or that was kind of scary for you to share, you can say something like that. Like, it's not always easy to put myself out there, but I'm so passionate about helping and inspiring other women. Just to kind of get the door open about what you're actually doing, because a lot of times people will ask questions. Now, Facebook, who does stories? And I know I'm bouncing around here, but I promise it all goes together. Does anybody do Facebook or Instagram stories? That's what I'm going to talk about at the end, but I'm just curious now. Yes. I know you do, Heather. Okay, so if you're doing Instagram stories, when you share it, there's an ability to click a little down arrow on the left side and you can save it. And then you can go to your Facebook and you can upload those stories to your Facebook as well. That's what I do. It takes literally 2 seconds. But I find that a lot of people follow my Facebook stories that don't follow or like or comment or engage on my actual Facebook posts. So it gives me a whole, greater opportunity to connect with a lot of different people. And like I said, I'm going to get to kind of what you can share in your stories and how to do all that at the end of this. We're going to quickly cover that. But I just wanted to make sure you know that if you're doing those, that is also a great opportunity to connect with people and send a "Hey girl, thanks for the support, thanks for following me" kind of a message. So the next thing on the list is conversations. What I just covered, conversations with people who have followed your stories. Continuing on 5 old conversations and or adding value. So you're wanting to make sure that these conversations are continuing on, right? You're not just kind of leaving things to go dead. So if you were talking to someone yesterday and you got busy or you had to get off, working, go back and follow up with those conversations. Inviting 3 to 5 people to a challenge group. Now, with that said, that means that you need to make sure you have a challenge group running every single month, or if you have a coach and you're new, I personally let my newer coaches add to my challenge groups because I just do. I think it's easier that way. It's better to learn that way in the beginning. but knowing what you're inviting to and when it starts is really important. So for example, this month, a lot of us are running To Be Mindset challenge groups. And it's really important to know what you're inviting to so that you can kind of create a message about those things, right? Because you don't want your message to be too vague, as in like, hey girl, do you want to get fit to wear a bikini this summer? But you have like, no, you're not really telling them like what your group is about, what you're offering in it, how it could help them. Those are really, really important. So knowing when your challenge group is, knowing what you're focusing on with that group, and then making sure in your conversations, you're asking people specifically about their goals so that you can suggest and offer what it is that they need. And what I mean by that is like sometimes when you're sharing, right, or you're talking to somebody, they're just going to say, well, how much does it cost? But you haven't talked to them yet about what are their fitness goals? Do they struggle with nutrition? Do they have cravings? Do they have low energy? Do they want to lose 30 pounds? And if you don't know those things, you can't really best suggest what they need, right? And you can't really add and build that value of why they need what you're offering so that they are more likely to want to join your challenge group, because they know that they're going to get the results they want with what you're giving them, right? And what you're providing as a coach. So don't freak out about me mentioning questions. That is in the Power Hour scripts in the training as well. I have typed out all of the questions that I use in conversations too, so you can look at those as well. Okay, so back to this. Inviting 3 to 5 people to your challenge group. Now, I just want to say a side note of this, because this is something that I personally do, and I know that it is something that kind of comes up often when people say, well, there are just certain days of the week where I really don't have time to do a power hour, right? And sometimes you're going to beat yourself up when you don't have time to do those things, or you just have one of those days where you feel really overwhelmed. Now, we stress consistency, right? Consistency is key because it is, but if you have a schedule that is a little more crazy certain days than others, to make sure that you're not kind of falling behind, if you have a day where you know that you're just not going to be able to do this today, right? Double up on it tomorrow or triple up on it that second day. Find a consistent routine that works for you. It is different for every single person depending on your life, your work, your hours, your schedule, whatever, but you have to find a way to be consistent that works for you, that you can maintain over time, because these things are extremely important, and without them, your business will not grow. So find that consistency that works for you. The next thing on here is inviting 3 to 5 people to a coach sneak peek, or inviting people to a free group if you have one running. I personally have like a meal prep group that stays open always forevermore now, that I add people to if they're interested in nutrition, but they're not really ready to start something. We run coach sneak peeks twice a month. And my advice to you from the get-go is don't be like I was and be terrified to talk about coaching. It'll take a lot longer for you to grow. But there is nothing intimidating about sharing the opportunity, because this opportunity is the biggest blessing. People not only get happy, healthy, and fit, but they have the opportunity to have fulfillment by helping other people, and they have the opportunity to earn income by helping other people, right? And that is such a gift to give. And if you don't ask, you just never know. And the answer is always no. So I personally can say I wish that I had been a little more gutsy with sharing the opportunity as a newer coach, because I avoided it pretty often. But it is super important. And if you are someone that does want to grow a very successful business or a full-time income over time, that growing a team is absolutely key to doing so. So take advantage of those sneak peeks. They explain everything that coaching has to do with for you. You don't have to, stumble over your words and figure out what to say to people. You just say, hey girl, our team is running this event on Sunday night. We're sharing all about what we do as coaches, why we love it so much, how we earn money, what we actually do. Can I add you in there? And people will say yes, and you pop them in that page, and then you follow up with them after. Does that make sense? Super simple. Yes. Okay. Okay. The next thing is follow-ups. Follow-ups are key. Follow-ups are how I have hit Success Club for 53 months in a row. Follow-ups, 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 follow-ups. Don't forget about the follow-ups. Don't overlook the follow-ups. Don't feel annoying by doing follow-ups. Persistency is so key in this, and I just want you to understand that getting rejected is normal, that people telling you no is normal, that people telling you not right now is normal, that sometimes I have had to talk to people for months and really build that relationship and build that trust for anywhere from 2 to 2 years before people said yes to me. So being persistent with those follow-ups every day. So for example, if you invited 3 people to your challenge group, let's say yesterday on Monday, right? You would put that on your list, say on Wednesday or Thursday, to follow up and say, hey, just wanted to, check and see if you got that message or if you've watched that video. Please let me know if you have any questions. And I just wanted to remind you that our group is going to be starting on May, whatever. And I'd love to have you dive in and join us, right? Super simple, super easy. It's still giving them the opportunity to say yes or no, but it is showing them that you care enough to follow up and check in on them. I personally don't love when someone sells me something or offers me something and then I never hear from them again, because I realize that all they wanted was a sale from me. And you might be like, what? But do you guys ever have that happen to you? Where someone's like, hey, do you want to buy my lipstick? And then like, I don't hear from her for another 2 years. And I'm like, maybe if she actually like checked in here and there once in a while and like shared what she had to offer with me, then I might be more interested in actually trying it, because I see she's actually really passionate about it. And that's how I look at what we do with coaches. It's going to take you anywhere from 3 to 7 touch points with people to help them truly see the value in what you're offering. So don't be afraid of follow-ups. They're absolutely key. The next thing is 2 quality posts on Facebook and or Instagram, wherever it is you're working. If you're working on both, you don't need to really make them different, but you may want to. If your Facebook content is a little longer, you can shorten it for Instagram, things like that. But 2 quality posts. And it used to be when we were newer coaches, it was like 3 to 5 a day, but social media has changed so much over the course of time. So really, 1 to 2 quality posts a day on social media is fantastic. I would suggest that one of those posts is Beachbody related in some way. And this is a massive umbrella of things. Obviously, it could be about your workout. It could be about your challenge group. It could be about something, that you're inspired about your coach or someone on your team, or that you're excited about an upcoming event or a super Saturday, or how people are, going through To Be mindset right now and what's so fascinating about that to you. Things that you've personally been through on your journey. If you're having a day where you're struggling or you're making excuses, how are you showing up for yourself? Personal development, what are you learning from it? Because if it's impactful to you, it's going to be impactful to somebody else, right? Getting vulnerable and sharing a part of your story that is really uncomfortable, because I will tell you, more than anything else, that is what people relate to. It makes you human. It makes you relatable. It helps people see that if you are someone that has gone through something or struggles with something, and that you can do this and you can overcome that, or you can progress, that they can too, right? And that gives inspiration, that gives hope. So like I said, just 1 post in relation to Beachbody or your journey or coaching a day, and then the other post can be anything about anything. It can be about your kids. It can be about what you're eating. It could be what you're doing tonight. It could be a meme. It can be anything, right? Just sharing parts of who you are, what you're up to, what you love doing, how you spend your time, how you live your life, that kind of thing. Because that's all important in kind of developing your brand as a coach as well. Now, does anybody have any questions about those? Don't look so smiley, guys. Yes.
So I wrote it in the chat box, but if you're talking to somebody on Instagram, and they're interested in joining your challenge group or a sneak peek or something and they don't have Facebook, how do you combat that?
So you mean if you're talking to them, like you're inviting them on Instagram?
Yeah, and they don't have, because I've run into problems where a lot of people don't have Facebook and they just strictly have Instagram.
I honestly can't say that I run into that very often, but we do have the Challenge Tracker app where you could run a challenge group in there if you predominantly are finding that a lot of your network is Instagram people. They don't have to be run on Facebook. So, and on occasion, you'll find people that don't want to be in a challenge group. It's kind of rare, but I've had some people like that as well that just really don't want to be in a group at all. And they just want me to check in on them via like email or text message. And that's fine too. But I think perhaps asking them what's the best way to hold them accountable on their journey might give you a better insight of what direction you should take with running your groups. Let me see. Yeah, Carrie, same thing. Challenge Tracker app. Then they don't need it, right? Then they don't even need social media then. And just per se, if you only have like maybe 2 or 3 people doing that, team up with someone else that is going to do a Challenge Tracker app, so that you can run one together. Or if you only have one person or something like that, ask someone else on your team if they have a Challenge Tracker app group running that you can add your person to and add yourself to. I have people ask me that all the time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do stories last, since I'm going to kind of go into that a little bit. But responding to all of the comments on your posts, is super important. So I put that on the checklist as well. And if you are someone that hesitated and said, like, I want to be present in my life and I don't want to be on social media all the time, I highly suggest that you just do that during your power hour, that you make your posts and you get off social media and you go live your life. And when you get on to do your work, you check in and you do all your comments and your responses and whatever, because otherwise you can get sucked in all the time, right? Every ding and every notification you have. It happens. So I put that on the checklist to respond to the comments. And here's why. Part of the reason is why that Facebook and Instagram all respond on different algorithms to what we're doing, right? And to the engagement that you have. So you will find on Facebook per se, say I posted something at 9 o'clock this morning, right? And there was a bunch of comments on it, but I didn't get around till commenting on it a little bit later in the afternoon. When I respond to the comments on that, it'll bump it back up in the news feed again so that more people are seeing it. And also, this is a side note of a little trick, but you can kind of resurrect your social media posts by tagging yourself in them later on. So again, if you were to post something at 9 o'clock this morning, it didn't get a ton of traction, you go respond to your comments and then you tag yourself in that photo and it will bring it back up in the newsfeed again. So that's just a little side note about getting your engagement, but don't stress too much about comments, likes, etc. It takes time to build a following if you don't have one. And if you were like me, you probably had like 35 Facebook friends, maybe like 300, but still. Okay, now the next thing is recognizing a coach or a challenge or a coach or a challenger in a group or publicly. And I put that on there even though you are new and maybe you don't have challengers yet, or you probably don't have coaches yet. But recognition is a huge part of this business. It is a huge part of people feeling important and recognized. So I put that on there just to kind of be aware of if you start to bring on some challengers and you see them doing well, or you see them, they've lost 2 pounds, they've done really well with their eating or drinking water this week, shout them out in your challenge group. It's a great way to make sure that people are being recognized and feel supportive and know that you're paying attention to what they're doing, right? Who doesn't like recognition? Everybody like recognition? Everybody? Don't lie. Okay. Check in on your challenge group, which if you're running one, that's you checking in on it. And if you're not running one, just making sure that you're not running one yet, I should say, hopping in there and just participating. So posting your selfie, posting your shake, commenting on other people's posts, engaging, being supportive. We are like glorified cheerleaders as coaches. So making sure that you're really getting in your challenge groups and loving on people. And the last thing is checking your Coach Online office. Now, I'm curious, who has actually opened their Coach Online office and like poked around in there? Did you get confused? Yes. Yeah, there's a lot in the Coach Online office. But the most important page is that the basic, like the main screen where it shows you your active PV that says your Shakeology order is shipping, right? Where your Success Club points show, where your volume is growing, those kinds of things. That's what I mean when I say check in on your Coach Online office. And also because if you go down on the left side of your Coach Online office, it's going to show you where you have, if you have new customers, if you have new coaches, whatever, so that you're always just kind of in the know of what's going on behind the scenes in your business. It's really important habit to start developing as you go, because that is like your business. That's your business, right? So if you guys specifically have questions about things you are seeing in there, or you don't know where to place people when you're signing them up, or something is confusing to you, please just feel free to ask in the actual training. We're happy to kind of help you navigate that. But we did in the beginning of the training have a video that covered specific basics about it if you missed that. Okay. Any questions about any of that? That was the whole page, or this whole page. Now we're going to talk a little bit about stories. I just want to make sure there's no questions. Okay. Okay. I think there was only 1 or 2 of you that said you're using stories as of right now, correct? Yeah. Okay. Stories are relatively new. We didn't have these for a very long time, and it's just kind of one of those things where when social media platforms offer you different things to use, it is best to use them because they're there for a reason, right? They're there to help you connect and engage and share what you're up to. And I don't know who actually loves watching Instagram and or Facebook stories, even if you're not using them yourself. Anybody? Come on, guys. Heather, at least. I follow like women that cook or that are like into nutrition on Instagram. So even like before I really started using them, I used to follow them all the time because I just think it's fascinating to see like what people are up to and what they're doing and what they're sharing. But it's really this simple, and you can just get ideas based off of these basics or based off of your daily routine. And what I would suggest doing if you're not already sharing on Instagram stories is go watch a couple different coaches' stories. Go find some of the coaches on your team that are using Instagram and or Facebook stories. I know Kathy uses them. Heather on here is a new coach and she's already using Instagram stories. I post on my Instagram stories and Facebook stories, but some simple ideas of like your morning routine. Like what is the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning? Do you read a Bible? Do you pull a card? Do you meditate? Do you drink coffee? Sharing like little glimpses into your day, right? So a lot of times I pull cards in the morning. I will pull a card for myself. A lot of times I post that in there. I post a picture of my Energize that I'm drinking before my workout. I will do 2 to 3 video clips of my actual workouts. And does everybody have the Instagram app at least? Do you have the app like where you can open it right now and see what I'm talking about? If I like go through and kind of give you, Okay, so can everybody go into your Instagram, right? And if you click on the top left side where it has that little camera, it's going to open to your stories. Yes. Okay. Now on the bottom, you see all the typing, right? All of the different like settings you can have it on. If you scroll over to the right and you go to hands-free option, and if you click on that and hold it down, not just like click on it, but like, I don't know if you can see my phone right now, but if you hold it down, it'll do a countdown for you. And then it'll record a video. So you can easily set that up right in front of you where you're working out and you can hit that hands-free button and you can record a little clip of your workout, and then you can share that to your story. Now you could write on there like, I have a group starting May 24th. I'm doing a specific program. You can get creative. You could put a motivational quote on there. You could do whatever, but sharing what you're up to in terms of like your workouts or what you're eating or drinking your shake or drinking your Energize, those are all fantastic things to share. And the cool thing about Instagram stories is that you can't really overshare on your stories, if that makes sense. Whereas like on social media specifically, if you were to post like 27 posts a day about Beachbody related things, people probably aren't going to want to follow you anymore, right? But on your stories, if you're sharing your day and you're sharing things that you're up to, people have to willingly follow you, right? They're not just going to like pop into your stories randomly on accident. They're looking to see what you're up to and what you're doing every day. So you can feel free to share what you want on there, right? But giving them a glimpse into your day, into your lifestyle, into your personality. A lot of coaches will hop on there and they will talk to the camera a lot of the times. I do that from time to time. I cannot say that I do that daily, but I do share and kind of write things on my posts pretty often. But just basically sharing what you're up to, sharing about your journey, if you have upcoming groups. And like I said, if you're following a few other coaches on there, you're going to get different ideas. So for example, when you have a challenge group coming up that's running, you might be sharing a little bit behind the scenes of like what's going on in your 2B Mindset group or what's going on in your challenge group right now, right? Or you could share some results of other challengers that have done this specific program. You could share your transformation on there. You could talk about your transformation on there. You could talk about what foods you're eating, how you're meal prepping, how you make time for busy workouts, how you make time for your workouts when you live a really busy life. Things like that. You could also put up a blank screen where you share who has committed to diving into your challenge group so that people see that there's something to join. There is also features on here. So I'm just going to pick a picture so that I can show you guys. Some of my kids sleeping. But if you click, there's like a little square right here. Do you see this? It has like a smiley face on it. Can you see that? If you click on that, it's going to pull up some options for you, right? And that's just kind of like to decorate and detail your stories, but you can tag into specific locations, which is great. Because anyone that shows up in that location, you're going to show up in that Instagram story. So it helps you connect with new followers. You can add the time, you can add the weather, you can add hashtags, which also help people search for you. And then there's a poll option here, which is really fantastic. This one here, where you can ask a question. So I have done a lot in regards to 2B Mindset with saying, do you struggle with emotional eating? Yes or no. Do you struggle with binge eating? Yes or no. Could be with exercise. Like, do you exercise every day? Yes or no. Get creative, but it really helps your followers start to engage with you a bit more when you use certain features like that, especially options like the poll, because when people respond to that, then you can go into your questions. Like I specifically, when I talk about a challenge group, I'll say, are you interested in learning more information? And if someone clicks yes, then I know I can go ahead and go message that person more information about my group, or I can send them questions, or I can continue on a conversation, whatever. But just get creative and don't be afraid to kind of fail forward with that. And again, if you are someone that doesn't that has that fear of like, oh my God, I'm adding in stories now, I'm going to spend my whole life on social media, make it a point to share something in the morning, once at lunchtime, once when you get home, something like that. Or save snapshots throughout your day and just go upload them all at once, whatever you want to do. But being present on there is really fantastic. And just like I said, that I mentioned on Facebook stories, you're going to connect with a lot of different people on your Instagram stories than people who are actually liking and or commenting on the things you share. So it's a really huge opportunity to connect with people. And the one last thing that I'm going to talk about that, because you could literally give whole talks on Instagram stories. But if you have your photo open on here like this, on this bottom right corner, there's a down arrow. And if you hit that, oh, that's how you type, not that. If you hit this down arrow, let's see if it'll work. You see it says saved on there. So if you go ahead and you put something on your Instagram story, right, and you hit that button and you save it, then you can go right into your Facebook and you can open that little camera on the top side right there, and you can hit the pictures down there and you can upload the same photos, to your Facebook stories. And like I said, it takes literally 2 seconds, but it's a really great way to connect with people, more so even most of the time than social media posts. So does anybody have questions about stories? Is anyone interested? I have a couple of videos actually that I could post from YouTube that are just kind of like basics about sharing on your stories. If you want, I can share those too. Are you guys overwhelmed?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. How do you, so I made a like page. How do I get my Instagram to post on my like page? Because it's wanting to post on my personal page.
From what I understand, it has to be your Instagram has to be a business setting.
Oh, okay.
Which you'd want it to be anyways, because if you have your Instagram page set up as a business page, you get to view analytics of like who's viewing it, what the most common viewing times are, like who your dynamic of people is. So like I know my range of followers is like women ages like 27 to 35-ish, and like my best times to post are like 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m. So having it set up as a business page is really helpful. It's super simple to do, but if you...
It is. It is set up as a business page.
It is. Okay. So when you go in here, like to share, okay, so say I'm going to share this story, right? Say I'm going to share my kids sleeping. And you go where it says your story to share, right? And you click share. My business page, my Facebook business page immediately pops up right there, right underneath it, like that. So I can double click both and then I click done and it'll share to both of them.
Okay, see, mine just says it's got my personal Facebook page and I can't figure out how to change it.
Yeah, that I'm not sure, but I bet you can figure out from Googling. Someone else had that same question like a week ago. Mine automatically was hooked to my business page. I don't really know why. When that option became available, mine automatically went to my like page.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Did you set up your like page after the fact? Because maybe that's why. Yeah.
So maybe if I unlink it and then link it again. I don't know.
Yeah, you might be.
Knowing that it's possible will make it easy.
It is.
To figure it out.
Google to the rescue. Yeah. Does anybody else have questions? Okay. Now I just want to throw this out there now that we kind of covered the most important basics. This might sound kind of harsh, guys, but like if we don't do these basics, our businesses do not grow. If you do not invite people, it's going to be hard to find people that are going to join you. It is a little uncomfortable to start putting yourself out there and to start sharing and connecting with people. I can tell you that one of the best kind of mindset shifts that I have personally had in terms of that, if that is something that kind of intimidates you, is that it's really selfish for me to not share this. I, personally in my experience, and I'm sure you all have your own stories and your own, reasonings why you love this and why you're a coach, and why you believe in this. But I personally have overcome a lot of physical injury in terms of surgeries I've had. I've overcome anxiety and depression. This has really kind of transformed me, considering I was in a not so good place as a single mom. When I started this journey, I have been able to build a full-time at-home business and be home and present for my son like I most wanted. So the way that I look at it now is that if I don't share this gift with people, that I'm being really selfish. And it's just something like, there are going to be people that say no. There are going to be people that think you're crazy, that don't want something to do with what you're doing, right? And you're not doing it for people like that. You're doing it for the people like us. You're doing it for the people that need someone to extend their hand and show them that there is a different way to live. And then it doesn't have to be so hard, and you don't have to do it alone. And there is another way. And really being that inspiration and that encouragement for other people. But on the next point of that is, I was going through all of the welcome posts in this, I think it was yesterday, maybe I may have commented on yours if you commented on there. And I know that you said Kathy kind of mentioned this last week as well, but I just kind of want to reaffirm that is, when you're a new coach, it is really scary to set goals, or to know what you should be setting your goals at, or to know kind of what that clear picture looks like for you. Now, I knew from like day 3 of this journey that I wanted to be an all-in full-time coach as fast as possible. Maybe you never want to quit your full-time job and you just want to do this for part-time income, or you have some debt you want to pay off, or maybe eventually you'd like to, be home with your children more. There's a billion different ways to want this business and to set goals in this business, and each one of them is going to be very personal and very specific to you. But I do want to just kind of continue to encourage you guys as you go through this training and as you learn all of these basic things, to really start to get clear on what that looks like for you if you're not already. And I would also suggest making something like a vision board in terms of those things. So mine is little tiny right now that I have sitting right in front of me on my windowsill where I work. My old vision board from when I started coaching is in the back corner right there, but everything that means something to you, that is going to push you, that's going to motivate you, that's going to help you show up on the days that are hard, or when it's challenging, or when you fail, or when you don't feel like it. Because the sum of me telling you this is that these basics we covered tonight, they're basic. They're really basic, right? They're simple things. They're very simple things. But they're easy to do and they're easy not to do. Easy to do, easy not to do, right? And so like I said, when I started this, I had never really done things like tracking or checklists or set goals or anything like that. But I had a why and a reason to me that was important enough to know what I needed to show up for and do every single day. And also just the impact that I desired to make as a coach. But you have to have something personally to emotionally back those things that are going to make you show up and do this, right? That are going to make you show up for that journey, that are going to make you show up for sharing, that are going to make you show up and do the work. So I'm going to end it with that tonight, is just, like I said, go in, print this from the files. I print out 4 at a time for myself personally, so that I can use it every week. And one other thing, I have to check and see if it's in there, but I still, over 4 years in, track every single conversation I have on paper, pen to paper with highlighters. I have tried literally a billion times to get into some kind of online system, and I just hate them. I'm a pen to paper kind of girl, so figure out how to track that works for you, figure out a way to be consistent that works for you, and figure out what that reason is standing behind it that's going to help propel you forward, because that's really the biggest thing. Does anybody have questions before we hop off? I know I kept you a few minutes late. No. All right, ladies. Well, thanks for hopping on tonight. I hope it was helpful. If you have questions, feel free to post them, and I will make sure I go post those Instagram story videos for you as well. All right, ladies. See you next week.